Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 7th episode of Across STEM with YSI, a podcast where we explore how STEM unfolds across countries, cultures, and time. I'm Amirali Banani, your host for today's episode, and I'm so excited to have you join us again. Each conversation here is about more than just STEM, it's about stories, ideas, and the incredible people behind them. Today's episode features a truly inspiring guest, Cesca Centini, a fifth-year medical student at Humanitas University in Milan, Italy, who joined U-STEM Initiative at the beginning of the year, taking on the roles of head of research and the leader of our relatively new Italian chapter. A driven, dedicated medical student with a strong interest, particularly in neuroscience, she has a passion for understanding the unknown, driven by her relentless curiosity and thirst for knowledge. Topics like consciousness, free will are always up there in her research. Cesca balances her rigorous medical studies with an expansive array of creative and leadership pursuits, from classical guitar to content creation, creating apps, modeling, drawing, writing, photography. The list goes on and on. She sees science itself as an art form that bridges knowledge and creativity, which is a very beautiful perspective. As a modern Renaissance woman, she tries to embrace the Renaissance spirit of learning and growing across multiple disciplines, and she truly embodies that, where science, art, and leadership converge. This has led her to build a community of polymaths she's always dreamed of, the modern Renaissance, which we'll talk about more in this episode. In today's conversation, we're going to learn more about the incredible person who is Cesca, how she manages such breadth across so many disciplines, what drives her curiosity, how she navigates the demands of medicine while leading and creating so much, and the vision she has for herself and the future of humanity as a whole. All while learning about her background growing up in Italy, challenges she's faced, her ambitions, huge ambitions really, and goals, hobbies, and more in this episode of Across STEM with YSI. Cesca, I don't want to say welcome to Across STEM with YSI because you're part of the team running this podcast, but regardless, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Lots to talk about in this episode. I already know we need a part 2 and even maybe 3, but let's get to it. So, how are you doing today? Where are you at right now? What have you been up to lately this summer?
Thank you for having me. And as you know, I've mostly been working on the modern Renaissance community, which has taken most of my time. And the rest has been mostly dedicated to research, mostly neuroscience research, as you know, and our own projects, which is Neuroposted. I think we'll talk about it later on.
Yes.
And exam session. That's our period in Italy.
Sweet, very busy summer. You're on the grind. Whenever you give me an update, you're working on something new, which is really inspiring, honestly. And it's so impressive how you juggle all this with your exam session and everything going on. And part of that is time management, which you're really good at. We'll also talk about that later on. My next question for you. So first of all, I want to know, you have a very unique story. You're originally Italian, born in London, and even though you go to university in Milan and you live in Milan, you call Florence and Siena your true home. And although you study medicine now, you've always actually had a very strong passion for the arts. So tell us more about your story.
That's a long one. Okay, so both of my doctors are gynecologists, so they're both doctors. And they really wanted me to pursue a degree that was defined as an actual degree in Italy because you have a difference between law, medicine, and engineering and all the other degrees. So after I finished high school, I wanted to pursue an art degree, but I was strongly recommended not to. And so since my only choice to get out of the house was and to move out was to choose either engineering, medicine, and law, I opted for medicine because I was strongly interested in the relationships between all the different circuitries in the brain and creativity. Like, I wanted to know why an artist is considered such as, and how they would see all the patterns in the world, both in nature and known, when they're creating something. So I opted for medicine. I still don't like it as much as I wish I did, but I think that it's given me 1,000 possibilities to explore neuroscience, which I'm really grateful for. And yeah,
Amazing.
I moved to Milan because it's probably the best degree out there.
Absolutely. And neuroscience is, part of the reason that we connected and now we're working on Neuroposted and everything. So it's really cool that you pursued that field. Also something I'm interested in, obviously, as a neuroscience major. And I like that you're trying to investigate neuroscience from an artistic perspective. That's very unique. I don't see a lot of people doing that. They just, investigate it for more bland reasons, for lack of better words. But it plays a big role in the arts, and it's super cool that you're investigating in arts and creativity, which we've also written about. So, yeah, very, very inspiring. Now, you describe yourself as a polymath, a modern Renaissance woman who loves to explore, to learn, and to try new things all the time. And from how much I know you, I can attest that you are truly one of the most multifaceted people I know. There are so many things you're skilled at and are capable of, which speaks to your multi-passionate personality. Can you share how this mindset developed in the first place? Was there a key moment in your life when you realized you didn't want to be confined to one thing?
I feel like I've always done a lot and in a variety of different fields. And I was only encouraged to do so by my parents. They were really happy to see me excel or dedicate a lot of time to a variety of different things. So I've done courses. I have studied classical music, as you know, at the academy. And I think that I could not survive without that variety. So yeah, it is an advantage, but sometimes it can be a limitation. It's really difficult for me to focus on one thing for a long period of time. And was a moment where I realized that doing medicine was not going to be enough, which was like during my second year, because in the first 2 years in Italy, you're basically studying 8 to 10 hours a day, both between lectures and studying at home. And I felt like I needed at least 5 hours more to do my own things. So, well, my schedule was nowhere to be seen, but I realized that I really needed to balance between hobbies and studying and, all the academic pursuits. But I feel like in Italy is really encouraged, at least when you're both a kid and like teenager, to do a lot of things. Because also one of our main high school institutions, which is called the Classical, we study how to translate Latin and ancient Greek, which is not common. But we also study philosophy, and we also really dedicate ourselves to different fields. And I think that I didn't want to specialize just after high school.
Interesting. And it's a cultural thing because I don't know how it was before the Renaissance in Italy. I think people mostly learn about, what the Renaissance era was like in Italy, and that really sparked a change for sure in terms of, at schools, like you said, people are exposed to a lot of different disciplines, or encouraged to do many different things, which I think is brilliant. I mean, we need this in other parts of the world. Particularly, I come from a Middle Eastern background, and I didn't go to school there, but my parents say they would make you focus on academics, nothing else, which is, I'm not a fan of that system. Prohibits you from going into other areas like music, sports, any form of art. But I think that what's being done in Italy it should be the norm in other parts of the world too. And that's
Well,
also something
sorry.
we'll also discuss this later on in the episode.
Yeah, sure.
You were saying?
No, that when we talk about the Renaissance, we obviously talk about a specific period of time that was coincidentally, for some reason, probably the best one that Italy had. But it was just a way of the Middle Ages to unfold into something. So it wasn't just the Renaissance, obviously. It was something that was building into in the underground of Italy, and then finally shown itself during Renaissance. And I think that it's something that we keep close to our heart because we want to be still the Renaissance, even though we're not. But we try. We definitely try.
But you're trying to reignite that, and you're one of the people who's trying to do that.
Thank you.
Now, you've talked about seeing science as an art form, bridging knowledge and creativity. And I'm curious, as a medical student with so many passions, how do all your pursuits in music, photography, drawing, writing, so on, inform your perspective on medicine and research?
I feel like it's really easy for me to switch from a variety of different topics, and in neuroscience is essential, especially because it's complicated. And now with the AI becoming basically the foundation of anything that we study, you need to have an interdisciplinary connections between all the different topics.
That's
So it's really easy for me to shift focus. And both in my hobbies and in neuroscience, I have worked on multiple projects at the same time, which has sparked my curiosity more and more. And I could see the patterns between all the different projects that I was working on. The only problem that I see with my approach is sometimes, especially in Italy, people need total reliability on you, and they need you to be responsible for one single thing only. That was difficult, but being in an university that is mostly English and very international, they really didn't care. But I know that if I were in a different university, they would probably would have cared.
interesting. Well, I mean, I guess the university you go to, you say it's very new. It's maybe more, I don't know, progressive. It's more focused on modern values, embracing
Yeah,
perspective
definitely.
around the world. It's less traditional in a sense. I wouldn't know, but
Mhm. No, it
um,
is. It is more progressive, and they try to include all the new things that are coming out because they
mhm.
want to be modern, which I think is great. At the same time, they don't give enough space to students to express themselves. So what we're doing now, like all the student modi, we're trying to get the associations recognized, which well, I'm part of of the associations, as you know, but it's difficult just because the university is new. So you have ups and downs.
But it's growing and it's innovative,
Yeah.
which I think is very exciting. So all of this, of course, has inspired and led you to working on building a community of polymaths that, as I said, you've dreamed of since you were a child, called the Modern Renaissance. Tell us more about the story behind it, the inspiration, and how you're building this community now.
This project is my whole heart. Well, I started thinking about it actually when I was between 9 and 10 years old. I didn't think about a community because I was um, very, I would say, closeted minded when I was young, when I was a child, and I really wanted to be alone. And I loved pursuing my hobbies entirely alone. And I didn't know there were people that could actually be interested in the things that I was doing. So I was simply doing them. And then at one point, I realized that people have a lot of hobbies, like most of the people that I met, but they all felt the same. They all felt like the odd one out. And it's difficult for them to niche down. And in a world where is hyper specializing and everyone is obsessed with going into very specific vertical skills, especially in I think that they need a space instead to express themselves to their maximum potential in their creativity, in the possibility of seeing things crossing between disciplines. And when I thought about it the first time, and I wrote about the project when I was 13, I thought it, I thought about it as a book because I was obsessed with productivity. And in 2010, everyone started being more productive, and time management was a big thing. So I got obsessed with it as well. And I thought, okay, if I can package everything in 24 hours, then I will have my own modern renaissance. And so I had like my 6 hours dedicated to creativity, and then the rest was for studying. But I was missing such a big component, which was the community. And I didn't realize it up until this year when I talked about it both with you and also other people. And they told me, it's a great idea. You could do it. And then I just started it, as you know, just accelerating the process and getting yourself out there because you won't have enough guidance to start something up until you actually start, especially for a
Definitely,
community.
definitely. And you build experience over time. You've already built experience. You're building more and more as you're building it now. And I think it's really inspiring. I mean, from 13, that you had this idea that I even saw like you were envisioning islands with bridges between them. Each island is like a different passion of yours, which is really beautiful. And now, 10 years later, you're making that dream come true by building a community. So very
Yeah, I
inspiring.
think we don't. we don't give enough credits to kids when they're having ideas because
Yes,
at the end of the day, we try to talk to our inner child and, healing our inner child. But then if you go back and take all of the different ideas that we had when we were kids, nothing has changed. He has become more mature, more adult, but it's basically the same.
exactly. It's the same. And also as kids, you're always exploring, always coming up with new ideas. Adults, very confined to one thing. Usually they're specializing. They're not exploring as much. They don't have that childlike curiosity. So a lot of these
So,
ideas, they come to you when you're a kid. And then, I mean, if it's someone like you start to build on that idea later on when you become an adult. So I mean, this story, honestly, you can write a book about it. That's an idea.
I don't know if someone will read it, but I could try.
People will read it as more and more people, especially, see the importance of being a polymath in the modern world, where specializing will not take you so far anymore. It would be such a helpful book, honestly.
I don't know. I mean, I think it depends because the topology of defining yourself as a polymath is quite tricky because some people see it only on the academic pursuits. So you basically dedicate around 10 years to one career and then you switch. But as, in a way that I define it is more of trying to understand and deepen your knowledge in multiple disciplines while seeing how they connect to each other, even if they're incredibly different. And I know that most generalists and polymaths usually stay at the top of the pyramid in teams. Like they usually have leadership roles because they could see the pattern, they are innovative, but it requires time, it requires sacrifice, and it's difficult to tell this to people, especially in a world where it's all about 10 steps to become rich or 5 days to reset your life.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Well, it's an honor for me to be helping you on this project, and I truly believe it will have a tremendous impact on the lives of so many people around the world. Very exciting. Now, time for a little cool story. So, after Cheska joined U7 Initiative and after a few video calls together, we realized how much we share in common and so decided to work on some projects, particularly in the realm of neuroscience. This was back in January this year. At first, we wanted to work on making some Instagram posts about things like the neuroscience of creativity, different types like musical, visual, literary creativity. Then Cheska had this brilliant idea of using Post-its to illustrate neuroscience concepts and then post about them. It's like, I mean, what a brilliant idea. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Beautiful. And at one point, we were talking about book publishing because I've written ebooks and was telling Cheska about my experience with it and what I did to publish. We were texting about it, and then suddenly Cheska was like, I just had the craziest idea for an ebook. I'm like, wow, tell me about it. And then literally after 3 minutes, she sent a picture of a book cover that said Neuro Post-it. It had Post-its with a brain sketch on it and our names. And I'm like, oh my God, what? A Neuro Post-it book? Hell yeah, let's do it. And that was the start. So the goal with this book is to break down complex topics in neuroscience into bite-sized, digestible insights you can read and understand, unlike those thick neuroscience textbooks that make it so complicated to understand neuroscience topics. And we illustrate these complex topics using cute Post-its. The book right now is the work in progress. We have a newsletter at the moment for it on the different topics we're writing about. And I've so far written 13 editions together. And we anticipate to publish Neuro Post-it by the end of this year or early next year. So you can follow our work and keep up with everything through our LinkedIn newsletter and our Substacks, of course, for now. And then when the book is out, you can buy it. It's going to be something special. You'll enjoy it, whether you like neuroscience or not. So yeah, that's the story behind it. Some of you might have been, if you follow Cheska or me, you might have seen the book, you might have seen the newsletter. So keep following it, and when it's out, make sure to buy the book. It's a pretty cool story. And now, looking ahead, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, or where do you hope to be? Of course, you'll be an author. We may have a few editions of Neuropost-it published by then. You've told me about wanting to go into neurotech or putting your focus entirely on the modern Renaissance. But regardless of how you build your career and way of life, what do you hope to have achieved by, let's say, 2030? Where do you hope to be in life?
You know that I hate this question so much. I don't know what's going to happen next week. How do I know what's going to happen in 5 years? I will definitely pursue a PhD, that for sure, in
Hmm.
neuroscience and AI. And I still strongly believe that I will do something in neurotech or like startups, neuroscience startups. But if the modern Renaissance starts getting more and more attention, obviously, why abandoning it? So having a full-time job there would be my dream. And to have achieved something that would be definitely publishing Neuroposted. I really want us to have that in like the bookshops and go and see our book
We will have it.
and meet people.
Yes.
And it's difficult. I would love to have achieved one single thing in like this, my own specific hobbies. It's like for every hobby, I would have loved to have one completed project and to be able to show it to the world. Because my problem when I start things is that it's difficult for me to finish them, not because of my own way of being reliable, but because a lot of things get in the way. As you know, I have like thousands of meetings during the day, plus studying, plus, it's a lot. But I really want to finish something. And since I'm working right now on an exhibition, I would love to see that realized, like in the real world. So yeah, also like I'm really grateful that I've just achieved up until now all the things that I've done. So anything that comes next, I'm just really grateful.
Beautiful. You've achieved so much. I've already seen that, and I haven't known you for a year even. And I mean, from here, it's just gonna get more and more exciting. You're gonna achieve so much more. All your hard work is paying off, and you continue to inspire people. You'll inspire so many more people through the modern Renaissance. And I think it's really cool that you want to have something to show to the world from every passion that you have. That's something I haven't heard yet. I've only heard it from you, and I think it's incredible. All right, so let's fast forward a bit. We call this segment STEM Across Time. 50 years into the future, what do you hope we would have figured out in neuroscience? In consciousness, for instance, a topic we're both so deeply fascinated by. And I know 50 years is a long time, but in a field like neuroscience, there is still a lot we have yet to discover to even come close to understanding what something like consciousness really is.
I would say how consciousness behaves in coma, because
Mm.
most of the research at the moment is done in patients that are comatose because obviously they are not like they're alive, but they're not conscious. And why is that so? And I think that AI is going to play a huge role in this and how the neural networks behaves and how consciousness emerges from all the different neural networks. So if there were a possibility to figure it out how consciousness emerges also in patients that are comatose, that would be something that I would love to study. But I feel like consciousness it's a peculiar topic that usually everyone gets obsessed with when they start studying neuroscience, and then everyone abandons it when they realize how difficult it is, how many theories you have to study, and how they're not integrated at all. So as you know, I was working on a review on consciousness theories, and I think it's going to be incredibly long because everyone starts to do their own consciousness theory, both in physics and neuroscience. And then they sort of, the finishes they completed, but they don't have a way to actually prove it because how can you prove consciousness in a patient apart from the fact that they're comatose, they're conscious, and they can answer? You cannot really prove on a scale how conscious they are in terms of, emergence from the brain and the neural networks. So I think that it's going to be great if the community in neurosciences will be able to study consciousness from a 360 point of view, like the whole entire community focuses on something together. And apart from that, like you can take it from the comatose path, but you can also see it from the psychedelics path. Because when people take psychedelics, they have these incredible experiences where they have an expanded consciousness. So what does that mean? Why does this happen? Why does it happen in a certain patient? It doesn't happen in another patient. So I think these are the two main paths that I would love to study consciousness in.
Very cool. And I think consciousness in general, once we at least develop an idea of what it is, it can unlock so many discoveries itself. You know, it might have
Yeah.
like an exponential effect, you know, and then that'll lead to treatments, many treatments for, you know, all the neurodegenerative disorders that we've been working on for years to discover a cure. And the answer might lie in consciousness. So that's why it's so important to figure out what it is. As you said, we need more people in the neuroscience community working together to discover it, more people to continue researching, not just get into it and then realize how complex it is and then let it go.
Yeah.
But I think it's promising seeing how many people are interested in neuroscience. I don't know if it's always been like this, but I mean, after going to uni, like I've realized there's so many people who want to be in the field to research, do experience in the field. A lot of my friends themselves, even if they're not, they might be like engineering students or business students, they're also interested in consciousness in particular,
Mm.
which I think is very exciting to see and signals that sooner than later we'd probably find at least a hint of what consciousness is. I don't want to say we can definitely define it. That might still take a long time, but even if we figure out like a hint of what it is, that can unlock so many discoveries. So, and onto that, what made you interested in neuroscience? Was it something you were fascinated by before you went to med school, or did med school really accelerate that or deepen that fascination by it?
I actually wanted to pursue med school when I decided to become a psychiatrist because I thought that it would give me also the space to develop my own hobbies. Then I realized that probably being a psychiatrist wouldn't let me do all the research that I wanted to. And then while I was in second year, we were studying physiology, and there was a part where the professors, he explained everything, but he didn't ask us to study because it was complex, and it was the consciousness. And when I started reviewing that, I fell madly in love with the topic. And I got so obsessed that I started texting and cold emailing all the professors that I know that they were studying consciousness because I wanted to do my thesis in consciousness. And I think so, medicine has definitely gave me the passion that I have right now without knowing. And also, since I don't know if you know, but in Humanitas, we have such a great research center, which is called the Neuro Center. And it is divided in different compartments. We have neuroimmunology and we have the part where they study organoids. So I have really close to me all the research that I would need. So it's really easy for me to just go and ask for something. And since the university is very small, they sort of know me. So we have done to that together the Neuro Day. We have made a lot of events on consciousness, on neuroscience. So yeah, I feel like medicine has given me an incredible gift because I didn't like it before. And so I discovered that consciousness was actually a field that you could study.
Beautiful. And it's great that you have such high accessibility to all these professors, these labs, these research centers, which is, again, I think, something special about Humanitas. And it's interesting that medicine, as you said, like you weren't interested in it, but it did lead to you, learning a lot more about consciousness, to do research about consciousness, and I think that's brilliant. And also, it's helped you, as you said before, learn more about or explore the neuroscience of the arts. So I think
Yeah.
despite all the difficulties that come with medicine, with being in med school, it's I don't know. I mean, you can speak to this more, of course, but how do you think your experience has been? Like, do you have any regrets per se going to med school, or do you think it's been more beneficial than you thought?
Well, it has definitely proved me wrong in terms of it has been more beneficial. But if I could go backward in time, I would probably study computer science and engineering because I think it's way more useful at the moment. But I also know that there are things that I can study on my own. It's
Mhm.
different, obviously, if you have a degree. But I didn't realize how medicine and like the med's degree in general is powerful in every discipline that you go. Like if you say that you're a doctor, everyone starts looking at you in awe, even if you're not a good doctor, but you are one.
Yeah,
So that has been incredibly beneficial for me in everything that I've done, because at the age of 25, I will be a doctor, and that is already good enough for the world. Not for me, but in all the disciplines that I go to, it's good enough. And it has proved me wrong because I didn't realize that you could study the neuroscience behind everything. So I am also obsessed with productivity and time management, as you know, and my schedule is packed. But knowing how the neuroscience behind focus works, I know where to allocate all the different things that I do according to my energy, according to how to enter the flow state. So definitely medicine has proven me wrong, and I'm happy about it.
interesting. And yeah, I mean, talking about the neuroscience, it's fascinating because it's like the underlying mechanism to everything. I mean, there's a neuroscience of pretty much anything you can think of that humans do. And, there are neuroscience backed strategies that you use that I know you use a lot of them and you know a lot about them. So that actually leads me to this question of, I mean, how do you manage your time? Because you have so many hobbies and you're always juggling multiple passions at once. But we both know very well, as two multi-passionate people, there's never enough time. So much to do and so much to explore, but so little time. But in juggling all your hobbies, you've developed strategies to manage your time, to be able to enjoy all the things you love to do on a weekly basis. And what keeps you grounded amid all your commitments and passions? Can you give some tips you'd offer to students trying to juggle multiple hobbies with academics and other commitments alongside them? Neuroscience-backed
Yes,
strategies.
that's difficult. Uh, I think that right now ChatGPT is such a great source, like any AI in general, is such a great source for people to study different things to make plans and make projects.
Yes.
Because my main difficulty when I was younger was how do I study this thing on my own? Because I cannot find any CVs, I cannot find any specific courses. Then courses peaked. Now ChatGPT is basically in every computer and everyone is using it. And I think it is an incredible assistant for polymaths and multifaceted people to create projects, to also have an easier way to see at your time, like to look at your time and understand where to allocate it. And let's say I have a 1 hour and you ask ChatGPT, okay, what could I do to move the needle forward for this specific project in 1 hour? That has been incredibly good for me. And I would recommend using it. But in general, what I do is that I have a second brain, which is something that if you're a productivity folk, you know what it is. It's basically a software that contains everything, all of your ideas, projects, resources. For me, it has been Notion for 9 years now. And
Wow.
yeah, I was a Notion like obsessed fan since the very beginning. And now we have
Since,
the offline mode.
oh my God, since 14,
Yeah,
you've been using Note. Wow.
yeah.
Very, I didn't
Yeah, I
know.
was obsessed with the templates and everything. I spent like hours, long nights learning it. But now it has become much better, definitely.
Yeah, and now everything, every idea you have, every project, you brain
Isn't
dump it on,
there?
it's all there. It's your
Yeah,
headquarters.
definitely. And it is all automated. Like I have my brain dump, and then my brain dump goes directly into projects, and then it allocates the time according to my schedule. Also with the Notion calendar now, it's perfect. But the point is, the brain was made to have ideas, not to host them. So having
Yes.
a second brain is absolutely essential, especially right now with all the sources of inspiration that you can have. And having an AI assistant that can chat with all the resources is incredibly beneficial for you because you don't have to remember everything that you've read, but you know that you have, and you have taken highlights and you have thoughts, but you have them somewhere stored. So the most important thing is building a second brain and having a way to see at a glance everything that you're working on without overwhelming yourself.
Definitely. So to any teenager watching this, get on Notion, make it your headquarters,
Yes, absolutely.
brained up everything there. There's nothing like it. Okay, I'm curious to know um, more about uni. So it's a big part of your life, and you also are a big part of your university. You're the president of the Humanitas Undergrad Neurological Society. And as far as I know, you're an excellent student and a student leader as a whole. In what ways do you think Humanitas has shaped who you are? How has it changed you? And conversely, how have you had an impact on Humanitas?
Mm. I don't know if I had an impact on Humanitas. I know that
You
Humanitas definitely did on me.
tell us about it.
Uh, since it's a very small university, it has given me the possibility to do anything that I want. And that was perfect for me, as you know. Like I would have not had the possibility to come and work in Berlin for a week if
Yes.
I weren't in Humanitas. And in other universities, there's usually this sort of nepotism because, you have professors, you cannot talk to them because they're gods. And then there are students, and you can do anything you want there, but you
Yeah.
have this sort of wall between students and professors, something that doesn't happen in Humanitas. So that you can clearly talk to anyone. You can ask for their phone numbers even sometimes. So since I'm someone that has no problem cold emailing and talking to people, that was incredibly beneficial for me. And it has shaped me in a way of if I really want to do something, just go out and do it. And then I apply the strategy to anything else in my life. I haven't changed Humanitas. The only thing that I know that I did was I have given more space to the societies in the uni. And I moved the people that wanted to make one to actually make it. And so now we have a student societies board, which is quite impressive because we have 10 to 15 societies for every single specialty, and sometimes even like a specific society for one country. So, people can feel welcome if they're coming from a specific country. The student body at Humanitas is working right now to make that a reality, like a part of the normal Humanitas experience. And it's really difficult, but I am in constant contact with, all the info point and all the people working behind Humanitas to make it something real. But because it's Italy, it's very slow. But I know that I have done that, so I'm really happy about it.
A lot of
I
bureaucracy
don't
too.
know,
Me.
you know that having making a society. But
Yeah.
the most difficult thing has been making people understand that that was needed and that was necessary because they didn't understand why societies were so important. But at the same time, they were calling us to host all the events. So, a little bit of irony there. And the other problem is professors don't like, especially in the first 2 years, if students are not studying after the lectures. Like they'd rather have them in the library studying the whole time. And
Mm.
some of them were actually coming to our events. That
Cool.
was not good for us, not a good advertising. So I had to have a huge talk with one of my professors because she is basically the let's say most important professor at our uni. And she begged me not to have students that were in the first years attending the events because they had to study and we were distracting them. But I think
Really?
that there is a good distraction and a bad distraction. Yeah, yeah. Because one of the students showed up to her and she was like, "Oh, professor, I cannot be late because I have something happening at the Neuro Society and I want to be there." And she was incredibly mad for it. She wanted students obviously to study the foundations and then choose. But I think that it's good if people and students, especially younger students, they are exposed to a variety of different events, especially in uni.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just going to lectures, studying. It has to be multifaceted like that. To be
Yeah.
in these societies, to invite guest speakers as you've done at the undergrad neuro society, and to learn from others, to gain perspectives from outside the uni. It's huge. So I hope the professors encourage that more. I mean, sounds like they don't really, but hopefully they're more open-minded about it. But regardless, I mean, learn from Cheska. You know, cold email. Don't be afraid to reach out to professors, to anyone, to make new students feel welcome, to be a leader in the university, someone who people look up to, like you. So it's super important. Don't just be a nobody, right? Don't just be there to go to lectures and stuff. Actually be active, a leader, start a club, a society, anything. Even if it doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to be like the president of the undergrad nurse society. Even if you're part of the club, that's a fantastic thing. So it's great that you're such a great leader at this university. Now, my next question for you is, now, I mean, you talked about how you would have pursued computer science engineering. And although you went into medicine, you have made some apps before. You've created
Yeah.
apps. You've done some coding. You've learned coding on your own. How was that experience? And what have you learned along the way?
It's true that I've made apps. It's true that I made softwares before, but I know that I'm a total beginner. I know that it requires way more experience. But it has been incredibly difficult to study on my own coding,
Mhm.
especially considering the long hours in med school. But it's something that I would recommend to anyone. The only thing is that, as you know, there's vibe coding now, and I think that will become a reality, and you won't need to code at all.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
I don't
Is
know.
it?
I would love to foresee the future. I would love to see if in 5 years people would be still coding, but I think not. I think that there will be a specialty where you have to code, like cybersecurity, for example. But to make websites, to make apps, you won't need that. But you will need a way to be good at prompting. And like prompt engineering will be a great field. And how to ask the LLM models to perform better. So probably going back in time, I would have studied coding when I was younger, making some apps, and then moved eventually to vibe coding directly.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, with AI, it's, as you said, now a matter of how good your prompts are that you give to
Yeah.
the AI to code for you. Now, in the apps, tell us about the apps you've made. I know you made one earlier this year,
Yeah.
which won. You were a winner at the Apple. What was the exact name of it?
Apple Student Challenge.
Apple Student Challenge. Yeah. Tell us about that app.
That app was mostly strategic for the Apple Student Challenge because I know that they love when the students send apps that are related to the things they're studying. So I need to make something medical or medical related. And so I made an app that would connect the doctors, especially physiotherapists, with their patients and check how they're performing in the exercises that they're doing. So there is a guide to perform the exercises, which is basically having a camera checking the angle of the joints when you're performing, and then having a statistics over time of how well you're performing those exercises so that the physiotherapist would know if you're doing them, first of all, and how you're doing them. So they can check the videos and they can check all the statistics. I won the Apple Student Challenge. That was great. And I was actually thinking of making that app a reality for my university. So I'm currently talking with the professor body to see if they want to invest, if they want to give me a team to work with. But I don't know. I think coding is great, making apps is great. And it's always an incredible way to make your own reality because it's just a matter of having an idea and perform it, make it something that is actually tangible. But I started making apps with making productivity ones, obviously.
Yes.
So I have a lot of apps on my phone that I made that are simply for me to check my time, to check the tasks that I have to do, and they are different from all the other apps that are there, and that they're mine. So, there is no jailbreak of my data.
Yeah.
But no, which is essential at this point in time.
Mhm.
And I started making something with coding, though, with game development, because I am obsessed with gaming. So I started studying how games were made, especially in Unity, and how to code in Unity. And then I moved to making apps later on.
Very innovative. Very innovative. And for the medical app you made, I'm very curious. How did you come up with that idea?
I had two ideas. One was the productivity one,
Hmm.
and one was simply I I I made like a statistics of all the other winners in the earlier years, and I was like, okay, so what can they do? What did they do to win? And so I realized that everyone was using, like from 2020, they were using machine learning models. So I thought, okay, so I have to add one, obviously, but how can I make it better? What can I do? So I realized that the only way to make it better was to add something that could see and that could check and guide the patient through something. But you cannot do it in any other specialty apart from physiotherapy. And so that's how PhysioLens was made.
PhysioLens, that's the name.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, I hope that, you get to, I mean, they invest in it at Humanitas and it becomes widespread. I love the idea of it. I think it's well deserved that you were a winner. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what more apps you create in game development especially. I hope to play your games one
I
day.
hope so as well.
Wow, it's incredible. That's another one of the things that is really cool that you do. I mean, as a med student, I haven't seen a lot of people be doing all these other things, which speaks to how creative and innovative you are. Now, speaking of being an innovator and, of course, a leader, always creating things, being a role model for others, inspiring people with your work, including me. And as one of the leaders of Youth STEM Initiative, an organization that so highly values STEM education and leadership among youth globally, how do you think young innovators can blend science, creativity, and leadership like you to make an impact on the world and ultimately for humanity?
I would say definitely through not specializing and experimenting. Like going to having internships in universities or like in labs is incredibly essential because you know how to do research and you understand that quality matters more than quantity, even if it seems otherwise in this period of time. But doing research is a very peculiar topic and a very specific strategy of how to do it. And learning that is essential for any type of innovator, whether that be engineering, whether that be medicine, but you need to know how to do that. And for young students, the best thing would be simply experimenting. Like if you have the craziest idea, you simply put it in ChatGPT and you ask for a strategy on how to perform and see if it is actually, valuable.
Mhm.
And then just do it. And the other thing would be start to do internships as soon as possible because you get tons of experience, which is something that I wish I did. And I had COVID, so I couldn't even move from my house.
Yeah.
But internships are incredibly important. And to do them into a variety of different fields. Like, yes, you're a STEM student, maybe you're doing biology, okay, but do something in neuroscience or do something that is closely related to what you want to do, but not enough, but still gives you the diversity that you need.
It's all about experience,
Always.
always, and
And definitely
especially
go away from your country. That is something that everyone should do.
study abroad.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get so much experience living alone, being independent. I don't think there's anything that can help you develop so many crucial life skills as moving abroad and living alone from a young age.
Definitely.
it really helps. And I think especially now, um, it's not too hard to find internships or even
No,
to
not at all.
so many opportunities
Yeah,
from anywhere. You can find it on LinkedIn by just even asking ChatGPT. So many places you
yeah,
can apply. And again, I mean, cold outreach is key. Um, Having an open mind. Time management is super key too. When
yeah,
you abroad, especially, you have to, because you're handling everything yourself, you have to manage everything yourself too. So in a specific amount of time while you're handling your academics, your internships, your all the projects you work on, everything. So this is the modern world, and these are
yeah.
crucial things that young people should start working on from the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something that was gonna sound very startupper, but young students need to understand how to market themselves and how to sell themselves. Like you don't have to gatekeep if you're doing something on the side. That's part of you, and that's incredible. And to when you ask for internships, first of all, you can simply cold email anyone. Like worst case scenario, no one is going to answer. That's fine. But
It's going to happen.
I, sorry?
It's going to happen. A lot of people don't answer, and that's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's fine. But I think that a lot of people answer. Like at least that was my experience. So I think cold emailing from a young age is incredibly important, even to just have a chat.
definitely.
And unfortunately, social media is an incredible asset to have. Yeah,
100%.
personal branding.
Personal branding. Yeah. Unfortunately, but that's just the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, now time for something a little different. And I think this question is very well suited to you. I also asked Rosario about this in the last episode I hosted. So, Italy is, of course, one of the global powers in many areas, especially from the Renaissance era, where it excelled in a multitude of fields, from medicine to the arts to philosophy. The list goes on. Of course, thanks to the Medici family, Leonardo da Vinci, Elisabetta Sirani, Michelangelo, Galileo Galilei. And the effects of the Renaissance still last, as there's widespread passion and innovation in the arts and sciences in the country, which is beautiful to see and experience. And I could see that myself from going to Italy a few times. And you are an incredible representation of that yourself. So, in your eyes, what do you think is the biggest driver of this passion for creating, innovating in the arts and sciences that is so ingrained in Italian culture? And how much do you think that has influenced you personally?
Well, definitely at the moment, the main driver and passion is the history that we have, which is
Mhm.
huge, as you know. But
Yes.
also there is a combination of probably they're just coincidence, but the fact that we have such incredible nature, incredible architecture, and you can basically go anywhere in Italy, walk, and your eyes are sparkling because there's so much inspiration anywhere, and everything is so beautiful. And also, since now we're more international, you can also meet incredible people, artists, creatives here in Italy,
Hmm.
which is something that didn't happen before the Renaissance. But then in the Renaissance, we now have a lot of different hubs that are hosting creatives. And this is something that has kept on going from the Renaissance up until now, especially like in Milan, in Florence, in Rome. So I think that the main driver and passion is the fact that, well, yeah, we have incredibly beautiful things from museums, history, architecture, but also we just love life so
Yeah.
damn much. And representing that through the things that we do and through the work that we do is our main driver, especially in the bigger cities.
Hmm.
Instead, you can, have your, what is it called? Like Italian life on the seaside, if you want,
La
which
Dolce
is,
Vita.
the slow one, the relaxed one. Yeah, Dolce
Yeah.
Vita.
That's something that makes me want to go back to Italy all the time, you know, even experience what it's like to live there because it's so unique in that aspect. And also, there's so much diversity. I mean, you go to the south, it's like very, the lifestyle, very healthy, Mediterranean, relaxed. Um, and then you go to the north, busier. lots of,
Business.
yes, business. And, and then you go to the center, Florence, Tuscany in general, the heart of Italy. It really is the heart of Italy with the most beautiful architecture that I've seen in the world, the most beautiful art that I've seen. I mean, it's incredible. You can see everything. You can see how the Renaissance really affected everything there. And now that you're, building the modern Renaissance, I think you're building it in the perfect place. There's no place better than Italy to be building this.
Yeah,
So
I was
it's
really lucky.
exciting. Yeah. And of course, as an Italian yourself, you know how it goes. It's in your culture. You grew up with this culture. So you're also, in that sense, and in a lot of other ways, the perfect person to lead something like this. That brings us to the end of this 7th episode of Across STEM with YSI. A massive thank you to Cheska for joining me and sharing about your journey so far and all the incredible things you're working on. You are a true inspiration. I've said this to you before, but I'm saying this here too. I am eternally grateful to know you and to be working with you on so many amazing projects. We're going to build great things together through the Modern Renaissance, Youth STEM Initiative, Neuro Post-it, etc., all while you continue to inspire me with everything you do. So continue being who you are, your authentic self, a modern Renaissance woman who truly embodies Renaissance values in a world that lacks it. You are genuinely making a difference, a great difference, with all the things you're creating and are involved in. To the audience, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow the podcast and check us out on socials to stay updated. We've got more and more incredible guests and conversations coming your way in the next month. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring STEM across borders and time. Peace.
Thank you so much.
Of course.